It was nearly 2 in the morning when my phone rattled on the bedside table, the vibration scraping sharply against the wood. I'd been hovering in that fragile space between sleep and consciousness, so the abrupt sound snapped me fully awake. Still groggy, I wiped at my eyes and reached for the glowing screen, squinting at the message that had lit it up. Sorry, lost track of time. Heading out now, Marin. To anyone else, it might have meant nothing. Easy to dismiss, but the instant I read it, something deep inside my chest clenched, like an invisible hand tightening around my heart. For weeks, I'd sensed a shift, quiet, gradual, but impossible to ignore. She'd begun setting her phone face down, the brightness lowered just enough that I couldn't catch stray glances. She took it into the bathroom, sometimes lingering long enough for the mirror to cloud over, though the shower never ran. She started buying new clothes, not flashy, but deliberate, intentional. A new perfume appeared too, a scent she'd never worn in all the years of our marriage. Sharp, unfamiliar, clearly not chosen for me. And whenever I tried to ask about her days, the late nights, the subtle changes, she responded with short replies, tight smiles, or irritation that felt misplaced. I stared at the message, letting the heaviness sink into my gut. Something inside me shifted then. Not panic, but an eerie calm, rising where fear should have been. Instead of calling her, instead of demanding answers, I typed 3 words, my hands steadier than I expected. Is Daniel worth it? I set the phone down carefully, like placing the final piece on a board she didn't realize we were playing on. Then I lay back and waited. The house was unbearably silent, the kind of quiet that magnifies everything. The refrigerator's hum, the thermostat's tick, the faint brush of wind against the window. My heartbeat thundered louder than all of it. 30 minutes later, the front door flew open with a violent slam that shuddered through the walls. I sat up instantly. Marin rushed in, her movements frantic. Her jacket hung half on, her hair a mess, her eyes wide with a blend of panic and rage. The composed, distant woman she'd been for months, cool, controlled, unreadable, had vanished. In her place stood someone terrified of what she might discover. And she saw it immediately. Her bags were lined neatly by the door. Every suitcase, every tote, every bag she'd packed for so-called work trips, zipped and ready. She froze. For a long moment, she didn't move at all. Her mouth opened, but no words came. The color drained from her face as if someone had pulled a plug. What? She finally breathed. What is happening? I didn't answer. I didn't even look at her right away. I walked past her into the kitchen, filled a glass of water, and let the silence thicken into something oppressive. She tracked me with her eyes, unsure whether to move closer or retreat. Each second I said nothing was another truth she didn't want to face. She took a few hesitant steps toward the couch, her gaze darting between the bags, me, and the empty space where trust used to exist. Please, she whispered, tell me what this is. I set the glass down and turned to her. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm, low, immovable. I'm done pretending you're someone I can trust. Her legs buckled as if the words struck her physically. She collapsed onto the couch, hands clasped tightly, breath breaking into shallow gasps. It's not what it looks like, she said quickly, desperation spilling into every word. You're misunderstanding. Stop, I said softly, and the word cut her off cleanly. No more lies. I placed my phone on the coffee table and unlocked it. The screen filled with screenshots, messages, call logs, photos, plans. Every late-night text to Daniel. Every flirtatious exchange. Every attempt to conceal where she'd been and with whom. Her eyes skimmed the evidence, widening with each swipe. Her breathing stuttered. Her hands shook. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered, tears pooling but not yet falling. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I was confused. Marin, I said, stepping closer but stopping short, keeping the distance she could no longer cross. You made choices, again and again, and tonight you deal with the consequences. She swallowed, searching desperately for an excuse, a lie, some emotional maneuver she'd relied on before. But the truth stood solidly between us, an unscalable wall. Suddenly she reached out, grasping for my hand, her eyes pleading. Please, just listen, please. I stepped back before she could touch me. Don't, I said quietly, don't touch me, not now, not ever again. Her hand froze midair, trembling. Real fear spread across her face. Not fear of harm, but fear of losing control. Fear of losing the version of me she believed would always forgive her. I left the living room, leaving her alone on the couch, breath shuddering, her world splitting in two. For months, she'd been pulling away, assuming I'd chase her, that I'd follow. Instead, I walked away. Her phone buzzed, then again, then nonstop. Messages she sent frantically even though I was only down the hall. Please don't do this. We can talk. You're overreacting.
I'm sorry.
Please come here. Just answer me. I swear it meant nothing. I'm begging you. The words piled up like confessions she couldn't bring herself to speak aloud. I didn't respond. Not once. Her sobs grew louder until they filled the house. I stayed still. I didn't comfort her. Comfort was for someone who made a mistake, not someone who built an entire secret life behind my back. Eventually, the messages slowed. The calls stopped going unanswered when even she understood there was nothing left to save. As dawn crept through the windows, pale light caught her face. Exhausted, hollow, drained. Her eyes were swollen and red, her hands trembling in her lap. She looked at the packed bags, then at me, and for the first time, she truly understood how lies ripple outward, how betrayal bleeds into everything. I didn't think you'd find out, she whispered, barely audible. But I had, and I'd seen everything with brutal clarity. And that clarity, I realized, was freedom. She sat there broken, and in that silence, my silence, I felt the weight finally lift. Months of doubt, confusion, and worry evaporated. The truth stood between us, final and undeniable. And for the first time in a long while, I stepped forward without fear, without hesitation, without her lies clouding my sight. Her world had shattered. Mine had finally opened,